Adewale Ocean Street in Lekki, Phase 1. The building's security guard, Abubakar Mohammed, asks his colleague Confidence, the cleaner, to go collect trash from the apartments. Confidence goes up. She comes back down a few minutes later with empty bottles, and she tells the security guard that the door to the ground floor studio apartment is open. Mohammed goes up. He knocks. No answer. He knocks again. Still nothing. He pushes the door. A chair is blocking it from the inside. He looks over the chair and he sees a man lying on the floor, face up, in a pool of blood. The man's name is Michael Usifo Ataga, CEO of Super TV. He would have turned 53 days later. In less than 48 hours, a suspect is identified, a 21-year-old university student. All of Nigeria seizes on the story. The media draws conclusions. The public condemns. But 5 years later, no verdict, and the questions keep piling up. To understand what happened in that apartment, we first needed to understand who this man was. Michael Usifo Ataga was born on June 19, 1971 in Edo State, Nigeria. He graduated from the University of Benin in 1995 and built a solid career in digital media. In December 2013, he founded Super Network Limited. In April 2014, he launched Super TV, a streaming platform offering movies, series, news, and documentaries. He served as CEO until his death. He lived on Banana Island, one of Lagos's most exclusive addresses. Certified in strategic planning, management, and commercial negotiation, he was described by those close to him as discreet, rigorous, and professional. He was married to Brenda Ataga, the national coordinator of the LPG gas expansion program at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. They had 2 children. His wife and children lived in Abuja. No known enemies, no documented business disputes, no legal history. A respected businessman, far from the spotlight. He was an amateur boxer. Those who spoke publicly after his death described a beloved man and categorically denied any suggestion that he was a predator. He was never supposed to make headlines until June 15, 2021. Chidinma Adaora Ojukwu was born on March 3, 2000 in Lagos. She was 21 years old at the time of the events, originally from Ojukwu in Abia State, southeastern Nigeria. She grew up in Lagos. At the time of the events, she is a third-year mass communication student at the University of Lagos, one of Nigeria's most prestigious universities. No criminal record, no history of violence. But behind this portrait, a more complex reality. Her parents are divorced, her family situation is fragile, and during the trial, a troubling revelation would emerge about her relationship with her foster father, Ojukwu. We'll come back to that. The COVID-19 pandemic upended her university life. Classes were suspended, resources dried up, and like many Nigerian students, she began frequenting social circles in Lagos. She would admit this herself after her arrest. It seemed fun when I first went out with other girls. The friend who took me told me we were going to a party thrown by one of the biggest boys in town. It was at one of these parties in November 2020 that she met Michael Usifo Ataga. He was interested in her, she said, because of her communication studies. He was married, she knew that. But he began supporting her financially. He paid her school fees. He funded her cosmetics business. He regularly transferred money to her. She also said that over time, she began noticing something. After about 6 months, I started noticing his strange behavior. She said he would give her drugs before sex. 1 month before the events, in May 2021, something happened. A friend of Chidinma's asked for help getting fake documents, a passport, a driver's license. Chidinma contacted someone through a mutual friend named Sam. That man's name was Adedapo Quadri, a professional forger, someone who could produce any type of document. They met in Sabo, then in Alagomeji. Quadri produced the documents. He continued reaching out until June for delivery, but he also did something else for Chidinma. He produced a fake identity for her, a driver's license, and an ID card with her photo under the name Mary Johnson. Keep that in mind. Sunday, June 13th, 2021. Ataga calls Chidinma. His birthday is coming up. He would have turned 50 on June 19th. He wants to spend time with her before joining his family in Abuja. His home on Banana Island is under renovation. He asks her to find an apartment in Lekki for a few days. Chidinma does the searching. Chidinma does the negotiating, but not from her own number. She uses American numbers, masked numbers. She negotiates with the apartment owner, Nkechi Mogbo, via WhatsApp, and she books under a fake name, Jewel, not Chidinma, not her real name, Jewel. When Mogbo asks for ID, Chidinma says she just returned from abroad and her papers are still being processed by government officials for COVID protocols. Mogbo accepts without verifying. The apartment is booked for 3 days, 125,000 naira, paid from Michael Usifo Ataga's GT Bank account. That same evening, around 5:30 p.m., security guard Mohammed sees a young woman arrive by Uber in front of 19 Adewale Ocean Street. She asks if this is number 19. If the guard's name is Abu, if his boss called ahead, he hands her the keys. Later that evening, Ataga arrives in his black Range Rover. The guard never clearly sees him step out of the vehicle. He goes straight into the apartment. What the guard would later note in court is that Ataga never left the apartment on his own. Throughout the entire stay, it was always Chidinma who came out. It was always Chidinma who called him when something was needed. Ataga remained invisible, confined, dependent. The evening of June 13th, they go out together to Angel Villa restaurant in the neighborhood. They bring back wine, they return. June 14th, Ataga transfers money to Chidinma from his account, 21,000 naira, then 15,000 more. A 5,000 naira transaction at Adiba Online. And then, according to Chidinma's testimony in court, Ataga asked her to contact her supplier for cannabis and Rohypnol. He sends her the money to buy them. She goes out. About 2 hours, COVID restrictions were slowing everything down in Lagos. Note that a delivery rider would also come to the apartment during the stay, handing Chidinma a small package whose contents the guard didn't know. After 2 hours, she comes back with the products. Cannabis in an apartment with no cameras, with a man who never goes outside. Rohypnol is a powerful sedative hypnotic drug, often called dat rape drug. It is also misused to experience the relaxing effect or enhance the effects of other substances. Tuesday, June 15th, 2021. In the morning, Rahman Saliu, Ataga's close friend and partner at Super Network Limited, tries to reach him for a management meeting scheduled that day. Ataga picks up. He says he has high blood pressure, that he took medication, that he's going to rest. That would be one of his last known calls. At 3:30 p.m., Saliu still hasn't heard back. He calls again. No answer. Then something strange happens. Saliu receives a WhatsApp message from Ataga's phone, a fake message sent by someone who was already controlling his phone at a time when Ataga may have already been dead or unconscious. At 5:30 p.m., from someone's phone, a WhatsApp message is sent to Mogbo. It says her friend would like to stay 2 more days and that he would make the payment the following day. And according to the testimony of security guard Mohammed, it was around 8 p.m. that evening when Chidinma left the apartment. She was carrying a small bag. She waved at him. She got into an Uber and she never came back. That same night, from Ataga's GT bank account, 5 million naira were transferred to another bank account, 5 million, in one transaction from Ataga's phone, to which account that information has never been made public. Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, morning. The cleaner. Confidence goes up to collect trash. The studio door is open. Security guard Mohammed goes up. He knocks. Nothing. He pushes the door. A chair is blocking it from the inside. He looks over the chair. Music. Michael Usifo. Ataga is lying on the floor in a pool of blood. He's wearing a white undershirt and boxer shorts, both soaked in blood. His head is near the wall. His arms are spread out at his sides. Blood on the floor, blood on the walls, blood on the bed, on the pillow, on the duvet. 7 stab wounds, deep cuts from his neck down to his back, across his stomach, around his ribs. His wrists show marks, ligature marks. A rope was found inside the apartment. His neck was broken, a fracture of the cervical vertebrae, and no one in the entire building heard anything. His brother, Dr. Isi Ataga, would speak publicly shortly after. I'm reading his statement word for word. Usifo died a horrible death. He was not stabbed 2 or 5 times. He was stabbed multiple times. His hands were bound tightly. The marks were still visible on his wrists at the morgue. There was evidence of torture and assault, and no one in the building heard his screams because he was gagged. He was tied up, gagged, tortured. One person could never have done all of this. The family called for a thorough investigation from day one. They were convinced multiple people were involved. The police already had a suspect. Thursday, June 17th, 2021, Ataga's 50th birthday. Mogbo has been at the Panti police station with Ataga's family since the previous day. Late in the afternoon, just before 6 p.m., security guard Mohammed is at his post. His phone rings, a private number. He answers. Hello, who is this? It's me. He recognizes the voice. It's Chidinma. Why are you calling me with a private number? Sorry. Then she asks her question. Is the car there? The black Range Rover, Mayoga's car. The guard asks why she hasn't come back since Tuesday night. I had a meeting. He asks about Ataga. He's fine. He asks when she's coming back. I'm coming. Then he asks her to call back from her real number so he can save it. She says, okay. The call lasts 10 seconds. Since leaving on the evening of June 15th, Chidinma had been calling the guard using private numbers. On June 17th, she called back from her real number. And that's how the guard was able to confirm her identity. Think about what she asked. Not, is everything okay? Not, has something happened? She asked if the car was still there, the Range Rover. Was she checking whether the crime scene had been discovered, or was she checking something else? That same June 17th, Withdrawals continue from Ataga's account. 5 transactions of 20,000 naira each via customer-to-customer transfers. June 18th, 110,000 additional naira debited. June 19th, 9 more transactions of 20,000 naira each. This time via USSD code. USSD. This is important. A USSD transfer does not require the account holder's phone. It requires their account number and their personal secret code. Any phone can execute it if you know that code. So, who knew Ataga's personal USSD code? June 18th, Chidinma goes to Computer Village. She sells a MacBook Pro for 495,000 naira. She says it was hers. A birthday gift from a man she calls Mr. Frederick, with whom she has had no contact since her arrest. Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021, 8 days after the events. Chidinma Ojukwu is arrested at her home in Alagomeji, Yaba. Police had tracked her through call logs and through a call to Quadri's number on June 21st that allowed them to locate him in Surulere. When officers arrested Quadri, he threw his phone out the window. He tried to jump out the window. They caught him by the waist. On him, 4 additional phones, 2 Itel, 2 Techno. Why would a simple forger have 4 phones and try to escape through a window? June 24th, Chidinma is presented to the press at Lagos Police Command Headquarters in Ikeja. And then she speaks. In custody, without a lawyer, Chidinma confesses in detail, precisely, disturbingly. She says their relationship started out as something fun, the parties, the generous men. But that Ataga had a habit. He would give her drugs before sex. He hadn't kept the financial promises he made her. He wasn't really helping her. About June 15th, in this first version, she says they had a violent argument, that he tried to force himself on her sexually again, that she refused, that he became violent, that he got his way anyway, that she couldn't take it anymore. She says she grabbed a knife. She says she strangled him first, then stabbed him. She says she sees his face every night in her dreams, that she has known no peace since. This confession spreads across Nigeria within hours. It goes viral. Public opinion is overwhelming. But 3 weeks later, Chidinma retracts everything. She says her statements were obtained under duress, without a lawyer, under physical pressure. She would testify in court in 2025. Because of the fear that Officer Bamidele and his team put in me, I couldn't say anything other than what he asked me to tell the commissioner. He tore up my first statement. He told me to write what he was dictating. When I asked for my lawyer, I was slapped on the back. The court nonetheless admitted these confessions as evidence after a contested procedure by the defense. Before the tribunal, Chidinma builds a radically different vision. She says that on the morning of June 15th, Ataga asked her to go out and buy cannabis and food. She went out, came back, knocked on the door, no answer, pushed it open. The couch was facing the door. The duvet was on the floor. The bed was already stained with blood. She says she ran to him. His eyes were half shut, no pulse. I panicked. I didn't call the police because I had read stories about people who reported incidents and ended up being accused. I wiped the blood off myself. I changed clothes. I took my things and I left. On the bank transfers, she says she knows nothing about the 5 million naira. She says she never had Ataga's ATM card that day. She says Ataga had told her to withdraw whatever she wanted before the events, and that she withdrew 380,000 naira with his permission. On a MacBook, she says it was hers, a gift. She has proof of purchase, but it disappeared during a police search of her home. On the iPhone 7 given to her sister, she says it was her old phone. She left it at home during the stay. On June 20th, she invited her sister Chioma, who had lost her phone in April, and gave her that iPhone 7 Plus. But here's something she says in court that no one has seriously analyzed. The morning after she left, June 16th, she checks her WhatsApp messages. She sees a message she had sent to Ataga, and she notices two things. The message has been read, and Ataga appears online on WhatsApp. I asked myself, does someone else have his phone? She sends him a message. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to leave you in that state. I was very scared. Then she is blocked from his number. Someone was using Ataga's phone, reading his messages, appearing online, and blocked Chidinma. Who? 2024, almost 3 years after the events, Professor John Obafunwa testifies in court. Former Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University, a reference forensic expert in Nigeria. 15 years of practice, hundreds of cases. His findings call into question almost everything the police had claimed. First finding, cause of death. Ataga died from 2 fatal stab wounds, one penetrating his armpit with massive blood loss. 7 wounds in total. Death by hemorrhage. The weapon? A double-edged knife. Second finding, rohypnol. Police claimed Ataga had been sedated before being killed. That's what would have explained how one person alone could have restrained him. Professor Obafunwa formally contradicts this version. The amount of rohypnol found in Ataga's blood was insufficient to sedate him. Ataga was a regular user of cannabis and rohypnol. His body had built up a tolerance. The dose found would not have immobilized him. Let's think about that in relation to the timeline. According to Chidinma's court testimony, it was Ataga himself who asked her to go buy rohypnol on the evening of June 14th. He sent her the money. They consumed it that evening. If the drug was consumed the evening of June 14th, what remains in the blood on June 15th is simply a residue being metabolized, not a new dose, not a dose administered to kill him. Rohypnol is detectable in blood for a maximum of 24 hours. If Ataga consumed it the previous evening, the small amount found at autopsy is perfectly consistent with natural elimination. The theory of she drugged him to immobilize him collapses scientifically. And even if they took it the same day, it has been confirmed that the dose couldn't possibly immobilize him. Third finding, he was fighting back. Defensive wounds on Ataga's palm prove he was trying to protect himself. He was not immobilized, he was fighting back. Fourth finding, the attacker's profile. Most of the wounds were on the left side of the victim. The attack was likely carried out by a right-handed individual. Fifth finding, 2 attackers. Based on the nature of the wounds, their angle, distribution, and depth, the forensic expert states there was a high probability that 2 assailants inflicted the injuries. 2 people, not 1. Sixth finding, tempered evidence. Professor Obafunwa reveals a critical anomaly. The samples he submitted for toxicological analysis in the United States did not match what the American laboratory received. He discovered these discrepancies in February 2023, more than a year after submitting them. Potentially tampered evidence. In the most high-profile criminal case in Nigeria in years, by whom, for what purpose, No one has answered that question. Let's pause on something fundamental. Breaking an adult's neck means fracturing the cervical vertebrae. That requires extreme force, a brutal, sustained twist, or multiple coordinated attackers. Experts are clear on this. In homicides, cervical fractures occur almost exclusively when multiple people are involved, or when the perpetrator has exceptional physical strength. Ataga's brother, Dr. Isi Ataga, made a public statement. I'm reading his exact words. Usifo died a horrible death. He was not stabbed 2 or 5 times. He was stabbed multiple times. His hands were bound tightly. The marks were still visible at the morgue. There was evidence of torture and assault. And no one in the building heard his screams because he was gagged. He was tied up, gagged, tortured. One person could never have done all of this. Tie up a conscious man who is fighting back. Gag him, fracture his cervical vertebrae, stab him 7 times with precision. All of this without anyone in the building hearing a single sound. And the door was blocked from the inside by a chair. If Chidinma left that evening, who blocked the door from the inside? And if someone else locked it after her, how did that person get out? That question has never received a public answer. Let's recap what we know about the financial transactions. June 13th, Ataga transfers 105,000 naira to Chidinma to pay Mogbo for the apartment, plus 10,000 naira more. He also pays 13,000 naira at Angel Villa restaurant and 14,200 naira at a bar. June 14th, he transfers another 21,000 naira to Chidinma, then 15,000 more, and 5,000 naira for an online order. June 15th, the day of his death, 5 million naira are transferred from his phone to another account. To which account? No one publicly knows. June 16th, 10 a.m., it's 50,000 naira wired to Mogbo from his GT bank account. Ataga is dead. Someone made that transfer. Same June 16th, 4 transactions of 20,000 naira each, plus 11,200 naira to another company, plus 93,000 naira moved between his own accounts. June 17th, his birthday, 5 more transactions of 20,000 naira. Raman Saliu is at the morgue with the body. The money goes to Chidinma Ojukwu Adora's Sterling Bank account. June 18th, 110,000 additional naira. June 19th, 9 transactions of 20,000 naira via USSD. This method doesn't require Ataga's phone, it requires his personal secret code. That same June 18th, Chidinma goes to Computer Village. She sells a MacBook Pro for 495,000 naira. Her personal details are on the sales receipt. She says it was hers. The prosecution says it was Ataga's. The MacBook was never physically recovered by police for identification. Ataga's phones, iPhone 8 and iPhone 12 Pro Max, never officially found. The iPhone 7 found at her sister Kioma's home. Chidinma says it was her old personal phone, left at home during the stay, given to Kioma on June 22nd because she had lost her own phone in April. The prosecution says it was Ataga's iPhone 7. And here's something nobody has properly analyzed about the sequence with Mogbo. Mogbo lied to Chidinma. On June 16th morning, Mogbo received the additional 50,000 naira for the 2 days. After being on the phone with the security guard who notified her that a body has been found in the apartment, she called Jewel, a.k.a. Chidinma. But Chidinma doesn't answer. She sent a text saying that she's in a meeting. Mogbo then sent a text explaining that the payment of 50,000 naira hadn't come through, deliberately, to observe her reaction. And Chidinma responded, "My friend will make another payment." Minutes later, a second 50,000 naira transfer arrived from Ataga's account, made with Ataga's phone directly. Someone was controlling Ataga's account in real time and responding to requests. Now, here is the most fundamental void of this entire investigation. We know Chidinma and Quadri were in constant contact. 15 calls between June 13th and 18th, 9 of them to Quadri. 2 calls on June 15th, the day of the death. 3 on June 17th, 2 on June 18th, but the content of those calls never presented in court. The text messages, the WhatsApp conversations between Chidinma and Quadri, never publicly disclosed. There's more. Chidinma chose the apartment. She booked it. She knew the exact address. If someone else entered during her absence, that person had to know the address through her, directly or indirectly. Her phone could have answered that question. Did she send the address to anyone between June 13th and 15th? Did she share it with Quadri? And Ataga's phone, the iPhone 8 or the 12, gone, potentially containing his GPS history for his final days. Incoming messages. The fake message sent to Saliu at 3:30 p.m. All of that. For 4 years, no complete independent forensic analysis was conducted on these devices. It was only in October 2025, 4 years after the events, that the court ordered police to hand over the phones, laptops, and SIM cards of both parties to the defense. 4 years without serious forensic analysis in the most high-profile criminal case in Nigeria in years. Adedapo Quadri is presented in the media as Chidinma's drug supplier, a secondary character. But here is what we actually know about him. He is a professional forger. He produces fake passports, fake driver's licenses, fake ID cards, fake bank statements. He has the right connections. Chidinma's own words. For Chidinma, he produced a fake identity, a driver's license and ID card under the name Mary Johnson with her photo. He also produced fake bank statements in Michael Usifo Ataga's name after his death. These documents were among the items recovered from Chidinma. He had known Chidinma since May 2021, 1 month before the events. Call logs show constant contact, and 2 calls on June 15th itself, when police located and arrested him in Surulere. He threw his phone out the window. He tried to jump. They caught him by the waist. On him, 4 additional phones. He is co-charged with conspiracy and murder, not just for forged documents. Police had sufficient evidence to charge him with murder, but his exact role never clearly established in the media, never seriously examined publicly. Why would a simple forger flee through a window? Why 4 phones? And why does the prosecution charge him with murder? I am not a judge. It is not my role to tell you what happened in that apartment. But here are the questions the facts force us to ask. Question 1. Motive. Ataga was funding Chidinma's education. He was supporting her business. She was losing her main source of income. What is the rational motive for a premeditated murder on her part alone? Question 2. Physical force. How could a 21-year-old woman alone, with no history of violence, have tied up, gagged, fractured the cervical vertebrae off, and stabbed 7 times a conscious 50-year-old man who was fighting back without a single audible sound in the building. Question 3. Forensic expert versus police. The pathologist says Ataga was not sedated. Police say he was immobilized. These two accounts directly contradict each other. Which one reflects reality? And why does the official version contradict the scientific expert? Question 4. Two attackers. The pathologist strongly suggests the presence of two people. Was Quadri there? Or a third man Chidinma mentions in her very first statements, never officially found? Question 5. Dorohypnol. The drug found in the blood. Residue from the night before or a dose administered on June 15th. If it's a residue, the entire sedation theory collapses. Question 6. The chair. The door was blocked from the inside by a chair when the body was found. If Chidinma had left, who blocked the door? And how did that person get out? Question 7. The fake WhatsApp at 3:30 p.m. Someone sent a fake message from Ataga's phone to Saliu at 3:30 p.m. on June 15th. Was Ataga still alive at that point? Or was someone already controlling his phone? Question 8. The 5 million. To which account were they transferred? Who does that account belong to? This information was presented in court, but never clearly made public. Question 9. USSD transactions. The transfers from June 16th to 19th were made via USSD, requiring not Ataga's phone, but his personal secret code. Who knew that code? Question 10. The missing phones. Ataga's iPhone 8 and iPhone 12 Pro Max never found. Where are they, and what do they contain? Question 11. The MacBook, sold on June 18th, never physically recovered. Impossible to establish who it really belonged to. Why didn't police immediately contact Computer Village to retrieve it? Question 12. The message content, 15 calls between Chidinma and Quadri over 6 days, including 2 on the day of the death. What was said in those conversations? The texts, the WhatsApp messages, 4 years without serious forensic analysis. Question 13. The fake Mary Johnson identity. Why did Chidinma need a fake identity 1 month before the events? Were those documents ever used? For what? Question 14. Quadri. Why does the prosecution charge him with murder and conspiracy, not just forgery? What did the investigation see that the media never reported? Question 15. The tampered evidence. Forensic samples were altered between Lagos and the American laboratory. By whom? In what direction were they changed? And why? And a question Ataga's family has been asking since day one, to which no one has yet answered. If one person could never have done all of this, then who else was there? What I'm about to share is my personal hypothesis, not a fact. An analysis based on everything we've uncovered together. I don't believe Chidinma acted alone, not because she is necessarily innocent, but because the physical facts, the torture, the ligature marks, the broken neck, the 2 attackers suggested by the pathologist, the perfectly coordinated management of the aftermath, do not match the profile of a lone, impulsive killer. Here is what I think. Chidinma had known Quadri since May 2021. She had a fake identity. She booked under a false name. She used masked numbers. She had access to Ataga's banking codes, or someone around her did. Did someone propose this to her? Did someone have an interest in Ataga's death? An interest we don't know about because the phones were never seriously analyzed for 4 years? If so, Chidinma may not be innocent, but she could be a link in a chain. Someone who participated for money, for a promise, for a reason we don't yet know, but who was not alone, and perhaps not the one who planned it. Chidinma's motive alone, too weak, she was losing her source of income. Someone else's motive, who may have used her, unknown. Because the destination account of the 5 million has never been made public. Because Ataga's missing phones have never been found. Because the messages between Chidinma and Quadri have never been disclosed. I'm not naming anyone. I'm just asking this question. In this case, we know the suspect. We know the co-accused. But do we know all the players? June 26th, 5 years after the events, the trial is still ongoing at the Lagos High Court. The next hearings were scheduled for February 2026. The results of the forensic analysis of the phones, ordered in October 2025, have not yet been made public. In this hearing, the only new fact we have is that it has been revealed that Chidinma were having a sexual relationship with her stepfather. Is this information relevant to the case? Was it brought only to affect the character of Chidinma? What do you think? Chidinma Ojukwu has been in prison since 2021 without a verdict. She even won a beauty pageant while in detention in 2022, Miss Cell 2022, which triggered a new wave of outrage across Nigeria. Maybe she is guilty. Maybe she acted alone. Maybe there were other people involved. Maybe the full truth is something that neither the police nor the media nor we have yet entirely seen. What I know is that this case deserves better than the conclusions drawn in the first 48 hours. Tell me in the comments, which question troubles you the most? And does my hypothesis seem consistent with the facts to you? Or do you have a different reading? I am sealed. We dig where others stop. Thank you for watching.